don't forget to like and subscribe. Welcome to Manage It Monday, your midday motivation to optimize your food safety strategies and elevate your business operations with Rochelle Howell. Welcome back to Manage It Monday. This week, we're focusing on the most important part of your operation, your people. Your team has the power to make or break your business, and investing in them is the best decision you can make. When your team is well trained and empowered, food safety becomes a shared mission rather than an annoyance. Here's the reality. No matter how good your policies, procedures, or equipment are, it all falls apart without a well-trained, committed team. If your staff doesn't understand or follow food safety practices, your operation is at risk for non-compliance, recalls, pest infestations, and even foodborne illness outbreaks. These are risks no business can afford, especially when it's preventable. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you have to carry it all on your own, but that's not sustainable. Your success doesn't come from doing everything yourself. It actually comes from building a strong, empowered team. You don't have to carry it all on your own. Food safety is a team effort, and when you train and empower your team, you create a culture where everyone takes responsibility, and that will keep food safe. It's not enough for your team to simply know what to do. They need the confidence and authority to make decisions and act when it matters most. Note, I said train and empower. Training gives them the knowledge. Empowerment gives them the confidence. Together, these two elements transform your team into a proactive force that protects your operation from risk and helps it thrive. This combination of training and empowerment does more than protect your operation. It transforms your team into proactive problem solvers that understand the why behind food safety practices, not just the how. Let's explore how regulations guide training, the essential programs your teams need, and how these steps empower your people to succeed. Food safety starts and ends with your people. They are the ones preparing, handling, and serving food every day. A strong team is your best line of defense against foodborne illness. Did you know regulations like the FDA Food Code, FSMA, and USDA standards set specific training regulations for food establishments? Some job positions, whether in manufacturing, retail establishments, or corporate, require specific certifications that the regulatory body will verify during inspections. Training and certification are the foundation of compliance and food safety excellence. Now let's learn about the most common training and certifications. The FDA Food Code requires at least one certified food protection manager. Oftentimes, that person needs to be there at all times. They also require that all food handlers must be trained in safe food handling practices relevant to their roles. FSMA, the Food Safety Modernization Act, mandates Preventive Control Qualified Individuals, or PCQI, training to oversee food safety plans. This includes the rules for sanitary transportation, foreign supplier verification, and intentional adulteration prevention. The USDA requires HACCP training for all facilities that are handling meat, poultry, and egg products. This enforces the produce safety rule for training growers and handlers of fresh produce. Although these are the most common, they aren't the only requirements. So let's go into further detail. The Retail Food Code, you're looking for that certified food protection manager. In some areas like Chicago, it may be called the food service sanitation manager. And these are required that at least one person in that establishment is there and has this certification. And oftentimes, based on your risk, you have to be there at all times. So this is at least one manager or more should have this certified manager certification. The rest of your employees should have at least a basic food handler training. This focuses on those frontline employees who handle food in retail or food service establishments. So it's going to cover things like hand washing and cleaning and some of your basic things. And all employees handling food in your retail service or food service establishment restaurant needs this. The third one is going to be your allergen awareness training. Your food handlers, your certified managers, all of the people in a retail food establishment should have this training as it focuses on preventing cross-contact and allergen-related incidents. All right, now FSMA is going to require that PCQI training that I talked about, that preventive controls for human food or animal food if that's what you produce. It's required for facilities to develop and manage your food safety plan. So you need to be PCQI in order to do that. That trains individuals who are responsible for any preventive controls in your facility. They need to know about it and they need to know what to do. This designates that main person, and it should be the person that is over the warehouse or over most of those responsibilities. Your sanitary transport training. This is also required under FSMA's regulations, and the purpose is to ensure that your food is transported under sanitary conditions. Okay, we need to make sure it's clean, that the temperatures are right, and all of your people who are responsible for transportation need to be trained. Your foreign supplier verification program educates importers on verifying foreign suppliers meet the U.S. safety standards. You can't import if you aren't certified to make sure that they are producing safe food in other countries before you bring it to the U.S. So those who need this training are your importers and anyone else that's overseeing supplier verification. You need your produce safety rule training. That is designed to educate growers, your handlers of fruits and vegetables on minimizing the risk of microbial contamination due to handling produce. This aligns with FSMA requirements to ensure the safety of our nation's produce. Food defense and intentional adulteration training. Who needs it? Any employee or manager who is responsible for food defense plans. And then HACCP training, seafood and juice. Those are required by the FDA if you have to create certain HACCP plans for seafood or juice manufacturing. This identifies and controls the specific hazards in seafood and juice production. Now on to your USDA requirements. They, of course, require HACCP training for your meat, poultry, and egg product producers. This ensures that, of course, you have proper HACCP plans in place and that you're processing meat, poultry, and egg products accordingly to prevent and control those hazards, keeping us all safe and from being sick. This teaches those processors to develop and implement and maintain HACCP plans because when they come to do your inspection, they're definitely going to check on that. Did you conduct a hazard analysis? Are you monitoring your critical control points? And are you doing your corrective actions? And who needs HACCP trainings? It's going to be team members, production staff, sanitation teams, facility managers, QA personnel responsible for monitoring these CCPs and documenting them. Anyone that's tapping into safe handling practices for your products. You also need the produce safety rule, and this one is shared with FSMA. It is designed to educate growers and handlers of fruits and vegetables on safe practices and on minimizing the risk of microbial contamination. So, produce safety rule training for USDA and FDA is going to be required. HACCP training for USDA and FDA as well. And then humane handling and transport training is needed. Who needs this training? Any personnel involved in animal handling, including your drivers, your slaughterhouse staff, your supervisors, and any other personnel. This complies with the USDA's Humane Methods of Slaughter Act, and it reduces stress-related contamination risk in the animals upon slaughter. There are also role-specific trainings. Many of these are conducted internal. You may create them, you may get third parties to provide them, such as my organization. We provide hands-on training. Some examples of these may be your pest management training, or you may have specific sanitation trainings. Just remember that whatever your specific food business, your title, your job duties, you must be trained or certified by the law in a way to ensure that you produce safe food for others and that you know your job. Remember, people power is the name of this episode. Speaking of people, let's discuss best practices when it comes to establishing training programs. Good ones. These are 3 training program best practices. Number 1, conduct a training needs assessment yourself or with a coach or a consultant. This will help you identify the gaps in your training programs based on your facility type, the job roles you have, and any applicable regulations like FSMA, USDA, or some kind of local food code. At the Paperwork Chef, we assess your organization structure, your functions, and your goals to determine your current and your future needs. This ensures everyone from management to frontline staff have the tools they need to be successful. The second thing, you want to create and or schedule the training to ensure compliance. Once you determine what trainings are needed, of course, you have to make sure that you schedule them or you build them or you develop them, you purchase them from someone. Just get them done. My team delivers regulatory compliant trainings for retail and manufacturing facilities. This includes the personalized food protection manager and food handler courses. We also offer them online if you prefer to do them all online. And like I said before, we are certified in Chicago for that food service sanitation manager. The next one is GMP trainings. We offer these specific trainings as well, like pest management and any other sanitation. So you never have to stress over meeting regulatory requirements. And we guide you every step of the way. The third point is document, monitor, and conduct refresher trainings. You have to monitor your team's effectiveness. Things like quizzes, mock inspections, and real application reviews help you see how much knowledge they're holding. Keep your training documentation organized because you're going to have audits, and record your sessions. Make sure you have your attendance, and then make sure everyone has access to their certifications. And then always set up ongoing refresher courses for your update, because you need to update due to regulatory changes, and sometimes your business just changes and grows, and you need to address that. Time for this week's case study. I'll tell you how we empowered a receiving team for food safety success. So there was a business that I worked with that was struggling with their receiving process. This is going to be a great example of how you empower your team with the right training and tools. So this business that I was working with, they had several concerns about receiving, and they had so many complaints from the receiving team. The procedures for receiving, they were just very unclear, and the staff just couldn't make basic food safety decisions because they always had to run things by the office staff. They always had to send it in and make sure this was okay. Can we keep it? Can we not? And this just completely slowed down their processes and their receiving, and often caused several day delays. And so what we noticed was that oftentimes products were actually fine to accept, and it was just the gaps in what the team knew at receiving and what the office staff were confident in them doing. And so we had to do a couple assessments and just really see. And once we found out that the food safety was not going to be the issue, we were able to deal with some of the staff frustration. The staff, when we talked to them, said that, they wanted more training. They believed that they had the right information, but they wanted to have the training and the tools so that they could make the decisions on their own. They didn't like holding up the receiving. They didn't want to have people look over their shoulder and check in. And these were just some of the challenges. And they also had some challenges with some of the truck drivers and, them bumping heads about what is okay and what is not and what should be done. So when I came in, I took a 3-step approach to assess and resolve the situation. First, I evaluated the procedures and training gaps. I reviewed their written procedures and found that they lacked clarity, leaving the receivers unsure of their responsibilities. I also spoke with both receiving personnel and the leadership. Leadership admitted that food safety training was inconsistent, with only the leaders receiving the official training, while everyone else kind of had to learn top down. They had to share what they had learned, which kind of left the receiving staff feeling underprepared and unsupported. And then the second thing, we did an on-site assessment where I observed the team's behavior during the receiving process. It was clear, very clear, that the receivers wanted to do the right thing, but they didn't really feel confident or empowered to act. So what we learned was, meanwhile, the lack of clear procedures, it just led to unnecessary disruptions and delays. And then, we needed to implement some changes. So based on these findings, we made several improvements. We updated the procedures. We revised the receiving procedures to include some clear and actionable steps for food safety decisions. We kind of gave them some metrics, we gave them some guides, and a little bit of a framework that the leadership could trust that the team would know what they were doing. We developed a log, and that aligned with the updated procedures, allowing the team to document and make decisions in real time. And then we also provided a comprehensive training where we trained the receiving team on the new procedures. We trained the leadership on how to manage the new procedures, and, hoping that this would bridge the gap. And the team actually loved learning the job relevant information. They appreciated being heard, and they trusted us. And then we provided some sanitary transport training. And this was just to give some consistency. This included the office staff, the drivers, the leadership, anyone that was attached to transporting, whether it was receiving or driving it. We felt that they needed to be aware of the procedures and the requirements, and we made sure they had that training. And the results were immediate, and they were very impactful. We found out that the updated procedures and tools, it replaced those disruptions in the receiving process. The employees, they felt empowered, they felt trusted, they had documentation that they can follow, so there was less room for error. And we found that it improved the processes. They didn't have to go to the office as much, although that we created space so they could go to office personnel. But it allowed everyone to kind of have their own space to operate and for leadership to just monitor. Time for Manage It Monday, the weekly action. This week, we're going to focus on the first pillar of the P3 system, your people. Since your team is the foundation of your food safety program and their success depends on how well they're trained and empowered, remember, I want you to assess your training gaps. This week, take a moment to evaluate your team's training. Do you have the required trainings, those certificates? What type of business do you have? And are you meeting them? Is it retail? Is it a production business? Is it transport? Are you storing? Are all the employees trained? Is it only leadership? Are you doing it by title? Do the people that's closest to the risk actually have the certifications? Are they empowered? How often are they trained? Are you doing these annually? Are there areas where employees know what they should be doing, but maybe they haven't been formally trained, and just giving them a certificate is going to boost how they engage and navigate? Let us know. Do the assessment and let us know. And if you need help There is a checklist that you can download from our website. Just check the comments, and this will help you with any assessments. And then we want to know, what were your gaps? What are the areas that are most challenging for you to address? And put them in the comments, and share any additional questions or concerns you may have about training and empowering your people. And if you are looking for more information or for more assistance on training, we would be happy to discuss with you in one of our coaching consult calls. All right, we're at the end of this week's Manage It Monday. Let's take a deep breath and release. Because as they say, teamwork makes the dream work. Remember, invest in yourself and your people so that all of you will continue to invest in doing the best for the business and your customers. Repeat after me. I empower my team by giving them the tools, training, and trust they need to succeed. Together, we create a culture where everyone plays a vital role in keeping food safe. We're all confident in our ability to act, and we will make a difference. All right, y'all. Now go spread all that positive energy and build up your people power. See you next week.